Jerry, because all of them going at each other seem very below the belt, tons of low blows, all really going at each other in barb kind of ways, nothing that was substantive. It was all based upon quips and trying to make people laugh. The whole entire thing reminded me of in kindergarten or first grade when you let the kids pretend they're running for office and they have their platforms like, today, everybody's gonna have 6 hours of recess. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
We actually had one candidate that started out the debate saying he was gonna give away money to 10 of his followers.
Yang, right?
Andrew Yang, who was gonna give up
temporary versus permanent. Why? Answer that, please, somebody. Why?
Well, I think I agree. I think that the tax cut should be permanent. I think most Republicans are on board with that. I mean,
if you're talking about taxes, what you have to also realize is that everyone on stage today talks about corporations and how we have to increase corporate tax rates. In all of these socialist Scandinavian countries, every single one of them, they have extremely low corporate tax rates, lower than the United States. So if you want to be a socialist like half of them do, then don't even talk about raising corporate tax rates because it doesn't work. Corporations need low tax rates.
I agree with low corporate taxes for sure.
It was free.
But it's not free. It's never free.
I want to move on to something else because we're talking about free things for everyone. We're talking about Medicare for all. We're talking about giving $1,000 to people. I mean, the platform really is free for free. Let's talk about immigration. I wonder if their plans are going to extend to illegal immigrants. But before we talk about that, we had kind of a tense confrontation between Jorge Ramos and Joe Biden, wherein Jorge said, would you take back all the deportations made under the Obama administration? And he's going to apologize for deporting people, which is the law. But if we have that clip, let's take a look at it.
Are you prepared to say tonight that you and President Obama made a mistake about deportations? Why should Latinos trust you?
What Latinos should look at is comparing this president to the president we have is outrageous. Number one, we didn't lock people up in cages. We didn't separate families. We didn't do all of those things.
You didn't answer the question.
Well,
the question
I
is,
did
did you make a mistake with those deportations?
The president did the best thing that was able to be done at the time.
How about you?
I'm the vice president of the United States.
Okay, so obviously it was a tense confrontation. Ben, I want to go to you first because you're probably the only one at the table that believes that illegal immigration is somewhat okay. That exchange there, who was in the right and who was in the wrong? Was it Jorge Ramos or was it Joe Biden? Or did he really give an answer that was acceptable to you?
I don't think there's a problem with deporting people who are here illegally if it is determined that they should be deported. So I don't agree that you need to apologize for that. I do believe that I might also be the only one at this table that is against putting children in cages.
That's another thing I do want to address, though, because Joe Biden actually flat out lied and said that the Obama administration didn't put people in cages. The Obama administration is the one that created the cages.
No.
Yes. So you think the cages...
That means the others weren't, but 30% is a pretty high number. And they know that that's their golden ticket into the United States. But speaking of that in policy, what is...
70% not.
Yeah, but 30, that's more than a quarter. More than a quarter.
But those people have still traipsed their kids across very dangerous situations, many being assaulted and attacked along the way. And nobody's saying that these people should be demonized, but my goodness, there's
Trump is saying it. Trump's calling them rapists and murderers, and you guys are supporting it.
You're saying that there are some people coming into this country that aren't rapists and murderers. You're really contending that some of those people that are coming across the border are not rapists and murderers.
Some of any group of people are bad people.
Okay, so his comment is factually sound.
But we don't know who they are, Ben.
But
on his Twitter.
Right, but let's examine that.
I mean, let's talk about it. Do you believe, I think we can debate or outside of the debate, and that is Lawrence Jones.
I can climb very...
Sells bringing race and implying that our president is racist.
Well, we already know that these news stations aren't neutral. They are biased, and the odds are stacked against Republicans. But this is what they do. They play this identity politics game, and we know it doesn't work. It's crying out race, crying out woman. Saying these things doesn't make them true. And just like they say when you wear a red hat, that's patently racist. This isn't resonating with the American people. There's a small demographic of the population that the pandering to works, and I don't think it's going to work in 2020 at all.
You don't think race relations, do you think race relations are doing well in this country?
Well, African-American employment is an all-time low.
That's not what I asked.
I think that the Democrats are exploiting, and this is something you talk about. Before we talk about that, though, because it's a lively discussion, I want to Mayor Pete Buttigieg actually saying when he is quiet to talk, her face has almost been at the Bernie level. But in talking about race, I'm only 27 years old, but I have to tell you this. Before Barack Obama became president, I didn't think that race was as big of an issue in this country as it is now. In fact, I don't think people were talking about it being such an issue. I saw people really coming together. The issue is being erased. I think since the time of Barack Obama, and then now since the Democrats have been exploiting it, I think it's become an issue, and it's become, as you said, a fear tactic. And I think that that's what their lack of policy has turned to, is a conversation on white supremacy and race, because that's a low-hanging fruit. I think that's what we've seen in all these debates. Do you think that there is a place for this question to come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a Democratic debate?
It's just the wheel of fortune here. These issues keep spinning around and around, and they have no leg to stand on, so they just play the race card, and they do deal in fear. And can I ask Ben, if you don't mind, a question about race and about these reparations that you think are such a great idea? So let's go back to 1850. I know I'm sure your black friends can tell you all about that year. Joshua John Ward, he was the largest slave owner of his lifetime from South Carolina. So if he was a slave owner, he's African-American. He's the largest slave owner in South Carolina, African-American man. So what happens to his family members that now they're African-American? So do they get reparations?
Easy solution. I'll exempt his family from the reparations. Let me finally say something.
But like that's just my point.
Let me finally.
But my point to you is you have to realize these things don't work. They're not grounded in reality. I'm not going to pay for the sins of people from 1850. I'm sorry.
You just said
I was living. I wasn't.
People thinking there's racial inequality does not have a leg to stand on. It's
There's
had the
slander.
words.
Don't try to
Play it
manipulate
back.
quotes.
Bring
Slander
it
and
down.
libel don't work for me. I'm a lawyer. My legal representation is free. Yours
said
is
it.
not.
You said it.
Do not slander
So
me.
let-
Do
you
not
said those
slander
words.
me.
Bring it down.
So let me finally,
Bring it down.
please.
Slander someone that can't afford a lawyer.
Let me finally actually finish a sentence about race relations, okay?
And then we're going to
So,
go to gun
I
control,
love
which
it.
I'm sure will be far
Great.
less heated.
I love it. I love it. So
He's going back to
No.
race. I'm not finished talking. Didn't you say that to me 3
Bring it
seconds
down.
ago?
Bring it down.
So what I'm gonna,
Finish.
okay, no, you did.
You need to bring it down. 'cause
So
we're
what
gonna talk about.
what's happening is if they continue to deal in race, they're simply not understanding what the world and the country thinks. Because the people that voted for Donald Trump and elected him don't see things the way that you do. And guess what?
they don't care about black people.
Okay, that's a pretty.
See,
that's pretty
this is
heavy.
why you're not going to win any sort of election
Right.
because you
Care
don't
about black
effing
people.
get it.
All right.
You don't
Care
get
about
it.
black
It's
people.
not resonating through you.
But
Go back to
think you're
LA in your
being honest
bubble.
Let me
about how you-
explain.
down.
Let me explain one very.
You're not
important
getting
part.
Guys, we
through
have
to the
30
American
minutes
people.
left, and we still have to
Let
talk
me
about
explain
gun
one very
control.
important thing for 1 second, Tommy, please, okay? What you just said is that if Hillary Clinton were a black woman, people would say send her, lock her up is racist.
Right.
No, so this is again something that Trump.
Negative term that doesn't need to be used to
They
describe.
are military grade
Well,
weapons.
a
It's what they use
defensive
on-
weapon.
in war.
I mean,
Nobody
that's,
uses an
the weapon is not a
Using the word weapon.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Nobody's using an AR-15 anymore. I don't care how many times Mayor Pete wants to say.
If you say you want the laws and background checks, the church Christ shooting in Texas, that gentleman would not have been able to commit that crime and have that gun if background checks were, they failed. The government failed us. You walk into the United States Post Office or take Amtrak, something that's run by the government, they're failing. So we want these background checks. There has to be a cohesive way to get it done and to get it to work because these background checks are failing.
When I also want to. No, the thing about it is that
Chicago has some of the most restrictive gun laws in the country, and look at crime
Because
there.
they
Look at
get
violent crime.
guns in the neighboring state, which has very lax laws.
You think that's where they're getting them? No, they're getting them on the black market,
That's why
darling.
you need
But I
national
wanna-
laws.
We only have
Use a knife, they'll use a
I will
Second.
take somebody coming at me with a car than somebody coming at me with a gun that can shoot you.
Doesn't like me, he's going to say I'm mentally unstable, then I got to
We're
go to
gonna bring
court
it
and
down
violate
because
some
we're
due
gonna
process.
go.
Let me just say
no,
one
you're
last
done.
thing.
Actually, you're done. Because
Tommy.
I'm hosting, so we're gonna go.
I know, but
Because-
Tommy, principles and liberal principles. We can have a debate between big government and small government and taxes, of course. But what we cannot have a debate on is morals and compassion and empathy for our fellow human beings. We cannot have a debate on finding some way where we can all give a little bit with comprehensive care.
Actually,
Have black people
Ben,
being
Wow.
attacked and being discriminated against in America. It's ridiculous.
Virtue
When are we
signal received.
actually
Virtue
going,
signal, yeah.
when
Virtue
are we
signal
actually
received.
going
We
to
got it.
care about people?
We're gonna go.
We got
we're gonna
the
wrap
virtue
it up.
signal. We
I'm
got
out.
it.
Enough of people not caring. It's honestly, it's bullshit for people in this country that are your fellow brothers and sisters.
All righty.
Sure to win the election.
Well, we're
Or the
we're
Oscar.
left-
The Oscar. The
We're left on
Oscar.
the table because we're gonna wrap it with something more fun. We're gonna
Let's
wrap
do
it
it.
with Joe Biden.
More
And
fun than that?
Thanks for all the fun,
Wanna slide
guys.
in?
That's what happens when we're unfiltered. But I appreciate you guys keeping your cool. I appreciate you guys talking about the issues of the debate. And I think that just goes to show maybe some of the in what we
The word
That's what I'm walking away from.
You know what? The word that comes to my mind
Hashtag
here
walk away.
is unhinged.
Yes.
Well, at the end of the day,
Unhinged.
we have 10 Democrats on the stage that laid out some of their policy positions, and we have a president that will surely respond to them, and we have an election coming up that's going to be fun for all of us to watch.